Hello, I'm Josh Baer, and welcome to the Bear Facts Podcast. For this month's episode, we met up in Basel with Michael Ringier, chairman of Ringier, one of the largest and oldest media companies in Europe. And he's a prominent art collector in his own right. So we spoke about the evolving media landscape as they've grown from printed newspapers, remember those things? I used to get one, to a growing digital empire. We talked about the impact of the AI boom on media and the arts, and about Rangier's art collecting journey as a company and personally. As he explained, lessons he learned from building his collection, he's extended to how he operates his business today. Welcome to the Bear Facts Podcast. We are in Basel. Do you call it Basel? Swiss people with Michael Ringier, you're Swiss. Do you say Basel?
No, Basel. Just Basel. Yeah,
okay.
That's enough.
That's enough. It should be enough. And
somebody who lives in Zurich will never say Basel.
But I think there's Baden-Baden that people think.
Baden-Baden, but that's in Germany.
In Germany, but the rest of the world thinks it's Basel.
No, it's just, and we have a Baden as well, but the Germans need probably,
that's a marketing
they always
device.
do more than the Swiss, so it's called Baden-Baden.
So being in Switzerland, we have, in fact, I'd like to say, we have a real journalist on the podcast, and that's not me, that's Michael, who also has a media company. I like to say the Bear Facts is a media company. My wife, who's Swiss, looks at me with like, that's not a media company, but I like to think so. And you have a real media company around the world.
We consider ourselves to still be a media company, but also technology company. Well, things have dramatically changed. I basically have a new company. If I look back 15 years, 20 years.
Go back 140 years.
190.
190
years. Yes.
So even like if the fax machine is out of use, people don't know what printing is almost.
Printing, I just closed my last printing plant a couple of months ago. Very sad. That was where we started to do business in 1833, I guess.
Just to also identify you as a major collector and museum patron, we'll get back to that. But this technology thing, when could you first see that you would close a printing business? I mean, when did it become clear? 3 years, 5 years, 30 years ago that was coming?
It's very, very difficult to say, because already at the World Economic Forum in the mid-90s, we had all these people, professors from MIT, and they forecasted a completely new world. And we were all a bit laughing about this because our business models were working extremely well. And then we thought these digital things, this is probably, it's going to leave again. But it was there another 10 years ago, and it was stronger and stronger. And then suddenly we thought we should really have a deep dive into that. And then we realized that our business model is going to be deleted. And so we started to invest in completely new things, because if you just digitize your content, that's not enough. To sell digital journalism is not a very lucrative business. It might work in English because that's the only global language. And, New York Times, they have readers in South America, in Asia, wherever, all over the world. But we speak German. I mean, we write in German. If you have a newspaper in German or in French language or Italian language, you have a very small target group. And the digital business is quite expensive. We always thought that printing is expensive and the physical distribution. But if you really want to be a serious distributor of your content in the digital world, you need a specialist for Instagram, one for TikTok, the other for Facebook. You have a lot of technology people. We have more technology people than journalists in the meantime. And that business model works, but it's not very rewarding. So that's why we said we need new business also to make sure that our legacy business can be financed.
And I imagine now, because of that experience, the notion of AI, which was basically dormant from when I started studying it in the 70s till a few years ago, suddenly you don't have 10 years to wait for that.
Not at all. You don't even have 10 months. It's something, it has the highest priority in our company since maybe 2 years or 2.5 years. And we have a lot of working groups working on that, because AI is not the one big thing you can do. You have to do dozens or hundreds of projects. It's all little small projects. And that's what we do. We all have to learn how to deal with it. And then AI is making progress every month, every year. AI is different and is making huge progress. And we had to learn to be fast. We had a generational business. Every 20 years, you invested 100, 200 million in a new printing plant, and you thought, wow, that's very complicated. But you had the same business model. You put some text into it, and you had it printed on paper. And with the new machine, it was a bit faster and more colorful. I thought, wow, what a difficult business. But today we have to be fast. We have to look around who is our competitor, what are they doing? We have completely new competitors. My competitors is not anymore the Neue Zürcher Zeitung or any newspaper in Switzerland. It's Meta, it's Amazon, it's Facebook, all these giants.
And all those giants were actually AI companies.
Absolutely. And I mean, they have.
I mean, Google and Amazon, that's AI.
Yes, that's AI.
So they're way
That
ahead.
is, yes. But it's interesting to see that also Google feels threatened by AI. You know, it's not just us, it's everybody. Everybody's business model is threatened again.
It's kind of funny to see Microsoft back because they're
It's
leaning in that way.
You know, we had a business model which worked for us 180 years. And now you have business model, and after a couple of years,
so were you the
they are
first
old-fashioned
in the company to want to change, or the last?
Yeah, and
were you leading this charge or resisting the charge?
I mean, no, you have to. If the shareholders are not leading the charge, the mindset has to be like that. You know, you don't have to do it operationally. But that's why I also wanted to bring contemporary art into the business sector, because what is contemporary art? If you are a collector, you stand in front of something which you don't know what it is, and nobody exactly knows what it is. So you have to listen to your gut feeling. And in business, a lot of decisions should be based on gut feeling. Of course, you need a strategy and whatever, and you need numbers and all this. But at the end, it's gut feeling, it's feeling for people. You invest in people, you don't invest in things.
I would say, to plan that back into art, that the art that I find most compelling is what can't be really explained. It's like, I can't explain why Cy Twombly's are great. It's like explaining poetry doesn't work. If there's something it shouldn't be great, but it is, that's what I'm interested in. If you can completely define it, probably not that good. It's when there's something that transcends something or other. And that's why in my mind, there's only 100 people around the world who can sort of do that.
Yeah.
But that's the moment that I'm looking for in art. But you're also saying that somehow about technology and business also.
It's exactly the same procedure, because the digital business, we had no idea. We didn't know how to deal with it. So it's like standing in front of a contemporary art piece, and you don't even have advisors who tell you, or who are really sure if this is good or not. And my fun of collecting contemporary art is to buy early and to have a feeling to choose the ones which survive. I always think, can this piece be in a museum in 50 years?
Well, that's my advisor hat, having been a gallerist a long time. It's like, would a museum want to have it as a gift?
Yes.
I'm not saying they'd want to buy it,
no.
But would they be excited to say,
yes.
Here, I mean, I just gave a Chris Burton sculpture to the MCA in Chicago, and they're so happy to have it. It's like, that's a standard, I like to think, for something that lasts, and art that's not so much about this second.
I fully agree.
But you're collecting focus as on somewhat time. You have to narrow down in some ways.
Absolutely. And then, I started with an advisor, because I knew I had no idea about contemporary art, because I have a first collection of the 10s and 20s, Russian suprematism, Bauhaus, and all these things. But I wanted, as I am a journalist and I deal with today's problems, I wanted to have today's art in the company. But I was aware of the fact that I had no idea about contemporary art. So I had Beatrice Ruf as an advisor, and this was one of my best decisions in my life. And so I had with her, she was 20 years with me, I had 20 years of university courses with Beatrice about contemporary art. And of course, I learned a lot and I've seen a lot. And in business, it's the same. We discussed the digital world and said, where are we? where is our market? What can we do? And, if you have 10 advisors, you have 11 opinions.
I would say, and I say to people about advisors, if you have 10 art advisors, you have none. Unless, one's doing antiquities and something there. Whereas if you want one vision, one voice. But in financial advisory, you probably want a lot of people handling your money. You don't want to put all your money with that guy who says, let me give it to Bernie Madoff. So,
yeah,
which happened in Switzerland a lot. I'm sure you
absolutely,
know people because they just
definitely, yes,
they just abrogated their own responsibility.
Yeah.
So in certain places, you want that. I like to say that in art, good is the enemy of great. But in business, great can be the enemy of good. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, absolutely. But at the end, also in business, you have to justify your own decision. I mean, of course, I had Beatrice as an advisor, but I only bought things where I thought I have a kind of relationship to it. It's not about liking is not the real, it needs.
I say to my clients, they say, I like it. And I go, I don't want to hear I like it.
It's like saying, oh, it's interesting, then it's dead.
Yeah. I want to hear I like it. Or sometimes it's interesting to hear I hate it.
Yeah.
And investigate that. You probably will still hate it. Have you ever come across something that you started with and you were really resistant to it?
No.
And then later you went, oh shit, I was wrong.
Not really hate it, but
or didn't get
I didn't get it at all. For example, Matt Mulliken. I mean, Victor Gisler, his gallerist in Zurich, he tried to convince me about his work for 2 years. And I said, Victor, I simply don't get it. And then I went to New York and I met Matt in his studio. And then, suddenly it made click.
He's been struggling to get anybody in America
yes.
to get it for 40 years. I've known him
yes.
at least. And he was always somehow better understood or appreciated in Europe.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure why or how.
Yeah, but these are the pieces I like most because you had to fight for it. It's not just, a beautiful painting.
Well, if it's beautiful also, then it's a real win.
Beauty is great. I mean, I have my own definition of beautiful, but I need to have this relationship. Otherwise, I can't buy it. I have to like to look at it.
Well, also, and I talk to my clients, you have to think what it's like to look at it every day. And does it get more interesting? And I tell them when it's a painting, put your nose like 6 inches away because it's one thing from 20 feet. Like Alex Scott's for me is a big sign. It's pretty great from 20 feet, but you get 6 inches away, for me, not interesting.
Yeah.
And if I was going to own one, I'd like to be able to do both.
And then there is another factor, which is extremely important. It's time. I have now 30 years of collecting and have this show in Düsseldorf, and I see works I haven't seen for 20 or 25 years. And then you stand in front of such a piece and you think, wow, it looks better than ever. And then it's probably good art.
I was lucky, so I was raised around it. So I always trusted my instinct.
No.
Because as a kid, I'm like sitting there talking to Robert Smithson or there's Andy Warhol at the house. But it's hard to learn that from the outside.
But it's a very long learning curve. But it's the same with people. I remember 30 years ago, I employed people. They had all the best references. Everybody said, you take him or her, she's great. But my feeling said, But I didn't believe into my
feeling. You didn't trust that little voice in the back of your head?
After a couple of months, it was done.
You got to trust that little voice in the back.
Since then, I always listen to this little voice. Otherwise, I fail. And you have to learn to trust yourself.
It's hard. And looking at art, when we're giving it, in Basel, there's 300 galleries with 15 works each. That's like 5,000 works. And you see each one for about 1 second. If you walk through that, it's like how to focus your time and how you acquire knowledge, I think is a really formal question that you have to address if you want to be good at collecting art.
You have to look at art your whole life. Go in every museum. I go to the old masters. Look, it's like if you compare it with wine drinking, you'll see a lot of people, they just look at the price list. And then they say, okay, this is $300.
It must be better.
And so they order this. And in art, it's the same. It's a lot about branding.
We've a couple of times had people make faces with the wine. We take it back in the kitchen. We pour it into a more expensive bottle,
Yeah, yeah.
bring it out. They see the fancy label and they go, it's much better.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's how it works. At the same, I'm
I
not a
can tell the
collector,
difference.
but I probably have 10,000 bottles of wine. And it's learning by drinking with wine. And in art, it's learning by watching.
But you're somebody who likes to sort of in a serial way go into things completely. Like I have one friend, he was bikes, then he was furniture, then he was art, then he was golf. And every time he went into something, he went completely over the deep end.
You know, there's this famous gallery owner, Bischofberg, Swiss, who brought Warhol and everybody to Switzerland, Basquiat. He has an incredible collection. And he was a guy like that. You know, he had a collection about Russian glass of the, I don't know, 15th century. He could tell you every detail of Russian glass of the 15th century. And then he had some furniture from Austria and Switzerland from the 19th century. He could tell you everything. Absolutely fascinating. I'm probably too lazy to do that.
Well, we do it piece by piece. I don't want to own objects, so I don't do it that way. But I think, yeah, people, when you go all in, it's risky and all
it
that.
is. But I would love, I'm somebody who always wants to know art and learn.
I'm sure Beatrice learned from you. So if you're teaching, you're learning.
I don't know, but
you do.
But
that's a process.
I'm now 30 years into contemporary art, but I know this little. It's just a little bit, and it's endless, and that's what I like. And the older I get, the more I can learn. This is
I kind of find now I may be playing boomer talk that the willingness to learn and look, I see it more from the people I know are in their 80s or something, wandering around, whether it's Eileen and Michael Cohen or God bless them, the Rubels. They're out there wanting every day to do that. And it's harder to get that from a finance bro who can really tell you everything about, say, Richard Prince, who I love his work, and they can tell you that whole thing, but they don't go very wide.
No, but you know, again, it's the same with wine. I mean, 15 years ago, I started to get mails from wine dealers with charts. And the chart was indicating why I should buy Aubryon because it's underrated against Latour. And then I said, what the hell is this? Either I want to drink this wine and I have to taste it and I don't need any charts. And if you show me a chart of two artists and you want to convince me that I should buy this artist because
the data algorithm for art, they can't replace the complexity of your brain.
No, investors buy the wrong things. Art investors are buying the wrong pieces. Usually. I mean, in contemporary art, if you see Picasso...
It depends on how you define wrong. You can define it financially, which they often do, and they rarely actually win at that. Or you can define it by quality. And that's where I distinguish between sometimes a great collector and a great collection.
But, you know, investors behave like investors in shares. They are followers. You know, everybody is collecting, or, you know, you've seen Rubels have bought this and this, and they follow. And then they don't get the best pieces because the best pieces you can't buy. They are distributed by the artists and the galleries.
I remember I built a collection of, I guess we called it feminist art, maybe 20, 25 years ago. It was the wife of a hedge fund guy, actually, famous, and we could buy the best pieces because no one ever wanted them. And they were not cheap, but you could buy the best Hannah Wilke, the best Eleanor Anton, the best Carolee Schneemann, the best Martha Rosler, because no one wanted to invest in them.
And that's the major thing. You don't have to have the best deal. The best deal is to have the best piece.
Well, and the best deal financially sometimes is paying the record price.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to be willing to I learned that from Thomas Mann. Who was willing to pay more than the other guy because he realized owning it for $22,000 versus $18,000 didn't matter, but having first choice and being there. And he was really, you know, in the late 80s for a gallery in New York, he was one of everybody's best clients
Absolutely. But the times have also changed. I remember I once bought this Richard Prince Spiritual America.
By the way, I'm going to stop you before you finish. The single most important work of that generation, in my opinion, that's the masterpiece.
And you know what? I can't show it anymore.
They couldn't show it at the Guggenheim.
I had it in the show in Düsseldorf, but they had to remove it. And I had it in a show in a winter tour, and they removed it. I hope I can show it in a show in Italy, but it's a disaster. It's a total disaster.
But it is, to own the masterwork of the pictures generation, it's the number one.
This is my fun. But
do you know where the title comes from?
I don't know, because at that time, Richard and Per Skarstedt said, we are going to sell it to Michael, but I don't know who owned it before.
Well, it's an edition of...
No, it's not. I have the original.
So...
This is not an edition. I have the installation.
So the title comes from a...
the title, yes, from the photographer.
Stieglitz.
Stieglitz,
Of
absolutely.
a horse,
yes.
And it's about a gelding, about castration. Yeah. So this is an incredibly, I'm going to say, unicorn artwork that captured everything. And I remember, because it's my generation, of him showing it and having to flee New York, and they denied it existed. Mm-hmm. So I think that has a complete story that's really... So,
but
but it's a prepubescent girl, and you can get arrested for showing it.
That's the problem. But at that time, the record price was a couple of $100,000. Today's record prices are out of my reach, so I have to change the strategy a bit.
This spring, we launched This Month in the Market, a monthly dispatch tackling the most important happenings in the art world. It's available only to paid Fairfax subscribers. It's full of tips, takes, interviews with key players in the art business, and we make artwork available on sale that's exclusive to the subscribers. So if you haven't already, sign up, get subscribed at thebearfax.com. Now back to our show.
I want to talk about something that I was doing my homework a little bit about photography, because photography, which is core to what you've done in business and in collecting, we're sort of saying photography's dead, the photography market. And it's I'm the bozo who buys Gursky's. And but I tell them, I'm going to say, unfortunately, I couldn't live with some of them. I had to sell them. And I lose money, and I keep waiting for it to come back, because he's a great artist.
How many times in history painting has been dead? I mean, everything has been dead.
It feels like painting will never be completely dead, but photography feels like it may never come back.
I doubt. Everything comes back in art.
Well, I'd be around for it to come back. My time horizon might not be as long as it should be. I mean, but, it's easy to say that the phones have taken away.
But now you have a new mix, young artists are using artificial intelligence, and they are creating pieces. You don't even exactly know, is this photography? Is it painting, or what is it? So photography comes back in a different way. So I think photography will be things looking like photography will always be around.
Well, Gursky, we didn't know for a long time that he manipulated those images. So we didn't even tell you for a while. That was like a big secret that came out maybe in the late 80s. So he was well in advance from this sort of traditional, is it reality, is it fiction? And now it needs another element, perhaps.
Yeah, but when I still remember when I bought my first Andreas Gursky, I think it was 15,000 Swiss francs. And I thought, this is extremely expensive because it's an edition of 5. And everybody said, oh, come on, photography, forget about photography.
And then it became
hyped like crazy. And now photography is again under pressure. But I know that the famous pieces of Cindy Sherman has been sold for 2.5 million. So the great pieces are still...
Yes, if you got the 99-cent store came up, or Prada, the first Prada. So what's driving, and even if you go into vintage photography, the masterpiece market is strong. A Man Ray for $10 or $12 million, you could see that. But 300 other Man Rays are still $9,000.
Yes.
And they're great.
Yeah, they're great. So we should buy them.
You should buy them. So I'm a much better advisor with other people's money than I am on my own. So it's do as I say, not as I do, and all that. But to that extent, then back to AI a little bit, but an interesting, people who really believe in it for art making. And it's like, obviously, I don't, but beyond it being a tool.
AI cannot do any art. It needs the human being. Because for me, art is not what you see, it's the idea behind. And an algorithm cannot have an original idea. But a lot of young artists are starting to use AI, and they are producing pieces of art, works of art with AI. So that's art, but it's a human being using AI.
Well, a friend of mine, I always give him a shout because my friend Alex Marshall in LA, when he was doing a talk on this, he made a really great point, is that great art evolves out of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And AI is training itself to not make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
which means its mistakes are catastrophic. But
Yeah.
the mistake making in figuring out how to do something is the human factor.
Mm-hmm.
And AI generated art, I suppose people try to program it to make bad things. So Gloria Simmons, when she's do something bad, do it poorly.
Yeah.
But in general, it's created to be correct. And that's, whatever great artists you want to say, they didn't think of their failure was.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why, for example, I like Wade Guyton so much, because his printing machine is producing mistakes. He cannot really control it.
So then here's a question I like to do to collectors. I go, Johns or Rauschenberg?
Rauschenberg?
Correct. But who made more bad work? Rauschenberg. Who had fewer failures for long?
Yes.
Johns. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the other one. Richter, Polka.
Polka.
Okay, 2 for 2. Same story.
Yes.
Right? But Richter's always...
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's meant to be perfect.
Yes.
He's about virtuosity.
Yeah.
He's like, for me, he's like the greatest opera singer who can hit any note.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Polka, it's like, it's crazy.
Polka is the crazy guy who creates things nobody else can do.
I mean, I like all 4 of those artists, but
No. It's not about, and it's also not about quality, but it's
a way of looking at
absolutely
how artists work. Now, I was noticing you like to know the artists, you say.
Yes.
Does that, now I grew up raised by artists and I was dealing with artists. And right now, I generally don't want to know the artist, but you find it important.
I think I like to know the artist. And because, with some artists, I had a real friendship. For example, John Baldessari, he celebrated many of his birthdays at our home because it was always around Art Basel, and he came to Switzerland. And I smoked cigars with him, and we had fun, and we had, I don't know how many bottles of wine. And when I look at these pieces, I don't see only the work. I see John.
John was a great teacher, a great person, and a great artist.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What happens if you like the artist but don't like their art? Or the other way around?
If I don't like the art, I don't buy it. If I don't like the artist, I still buy it if I think the work is great. Artists are like all human beings.
Note to artists, you are citizens and human beings too.
Absolutely. But, you find everything. You find crazy people. You find nasty people. There's everything. Some are totally chaotic. There are artists, they go at 9 o'clock in the studio and at 5 o'clock it's finished, and all kinds of people. But they have one thing in common. They are all intelligent, because you need to be intelligent to create art. And I prefer to talk to intelligent people.
But, okay, that's an interesting point. Almost all artists are intelligent, but a very small percentage of them are intelligent and great artists. And I do know 1 or 2 that are really quite stupid and are great artists.
Yeah, you probably can behave stupidly, but you might be intelligent.
Now, do you play golf?
Yeah, absolutely.
So most golfers who are great are really kind of stupid. They're like, but they can focus. You listen to them and they're like, they win this. And it's like, my God, that guy couldn't spell cat if you gave him a C and an A. And then you get these other hybrids, like Tiger Woods went to Stanford. He's very intelligent. He doesn't really use it. But both ends of it in golf, I could get golf in there, work to be really on the edge.
Yeah, but doing sport, you don't need to be intelligent.
But You don't need to be. And
among the best tennis players, they were total idiots.
And it's usually an advantage not to be. I mean, one of my best clients is John McEnroe, and he was a great player, smart guy, and a great art collector.
Yeah.
So
yes.
He's
That's pretty rare.
But he's from New York, so that's
yeah,
why.
Okay. No, but it's, I mean, compared to Roger Federer, I mean.
Roger's a super
Roger
great guy.
I don't think he's collecting art, but maybe.
They do.
They do. Okay. That's a good news.
That's a good news.
Yes.
I took in self-promotion. It's almost like an Instagram post. I took Nish Kapoor to Wimbledon, and he took me behind after the match and introduced me to Roger Federer. It's like, what a great moment.
Yeah, and he's a really nice guy.
He's a really nice guy.
He's tough. He's really tough. I mean, you have to, but he's very nice. And he's nice to everybody.
He's nice to everybody.
Yeah,
you can see that. And like in talking
and
for
it's
half
natural,
an hour.
It's not,
he's asking about you and what you're doing. And it's like,
absolutely.
And in fact, I think he does have real art. More than them have it than you think. So, but no golfers. Tennis players collect art.
Yeah, golfers. I don't know anybody who. I don't know. I don't know so many golfers.
They're all Republicans. That's a problem. We might have to.
Okay, now it's getting.
That's me talking. Michael, you think all golfers are Republican? That's a problem?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I don't care at all.
Oh man.
No.
So
as long as they don't cheat, it's fine.
In golf,
imagine,
golfers are the Republicans.
I mean, that's the worst. You have a cheating president who cheats in golf. I mean, this is total nightmare. This is the ultimate nightmare.
Yes, there is a theory that you learn something more about somebody than playing around golf.
After 18 holes, you know
who they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your handicap?
11 something.
I go between 8 and 12. It's like, it's bad enough to make some money and have a good time. But
yeah, if I bet with my friends, yes.
Yes. And all that. At the cocktail party, you're a 3.
But
in the first tee, you're a 14. I understand all that. Now, before we go out, I want to also mention 2 things that are quite incredible. One is your sort of virtual project with Matt Mulliken.
Yes, the museum in the metaverse.
Yes, and that's Roaringtown.
Roarington is basically, Roarington was the idea of a friend of mine. The problem is that the classic car collectors are between 70 and 150 years old. And so we have to approach the new generation. And then so we thought, why not via the metaverse? And now you can find the most beautiful 50 cars in the metaverse. You can race them, you can do digital twins, you can do a lot. And then I had the idea, why are we not making a museum in the metaverse? And so we had an Italian architect who designed it. It looks very beautiful. The first show will be with Matt Mulliken. You will have access after the summer holidays. You can access this, and then I'm very curious what you say, because again, it's learning by doing. We have no idea how it really works, but we have established the highest standards. It's done by the best people of Disney. The technology has to be the best.
You can't, at this point, post-COVID, you have to hit it the first time right.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
During COVID, you could sort of experiment a little bit more.
That's over.
That's over. But at the same time, you're doing sort of the traditional lending of your collection in a museum designed by my favorite architect in Germany. It's like, so at the same time, you're going classic.
Yes.
What's the name of the foundation?
The Langen Foundation, which is a beautifully designed museum by Tadeo Anda. And it's in the middle of nowhere. When you drive the first time by taxi, you get lost because he doesn't find it. It's really in the nowhere, but it's beautiful, surrounded by water, and absolutely stunning museum. So Beatrice Roof and Wade Guyton curated the show with my collection. And I mean, the show is designed to have one visitor, that's me, and I'm absolutely happy about it.
So you really, what I admire, you're working both sides. You're working
absolutely. I mean,
sort of historical, traditional, kind of the sublime with an academic, with a personal kind of thing through objects.
Yeah.
And then there you are in the metaverse, and I like it on the edges.
Yeah, the new world doesn't kill the old world. Not always. We talked about photography is
you don't
dead.
have to kill the father or something.
Maybe, but looking at the real art, this is always going to happen. People want to see the real.
It's like I told my
piece.
daughter, she could go to the Van Gogh immersive experience on the one condition that she would go back to MoMA
Yes.
and look at the real paintings. I said, I'll take you there, but here's the deal. And she, in the end, said, well, let's just go to MoMA. Good job, Stella. But it's like
Starry Nights. I go every time I'm in New York. I go to see this piece because it's fabulous. It's incredible. I've seen it, I don't know how many times. Last time it was missing because it was in a show. So I was disappointed.
The last point that I make for one of my clients, one of my guys is a museum trustee. I said, sell everything and buy one work. And then imagine that for him, it would be like a great Cy Twombly. It's like, well, you'd win. If you sold everything and had the Van Gogh, would you make that deal?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's something I quite often.
So I think my perfect collection for somebody,
One Van Gogh.
one work of art.
Yes.
Whatever
but it
that
has
would
to
be
be
for
Van
them.
Gogh.
Well, it
I
could
would
be-
choose the Black Square.
I
We
might
can
choose
discuss.
a Screaming Pope or a Pollock painting, but for each individual,
or Spiritual America.
Virtual America, and that's it. You're sitting there, and that's your collection until you see something that tops it, and then you have to sell that and buy the other.
Yeah.
So no one will ever take my advice and do this collection. I put it out there to be your art advice. We're selling, as Chris Wolf said, sell the house, sell the wife, sell the
Okay.
kids.
So I might have a booth next year at Art Basel.
You might have a booth there, yes, or 8 or 10 of them in that. And then we're going to check for go to Amsterdam, did they deaccession something that could be used? So Michael, thank you for taking the time
Thanks a
during
lot
this
for
busy
having me.
week and joining us on the Barefax podcast. And thank you to our audience.
Thanks again to Michael Ringier for joining us on the Barefax podcast. Thank you to our listeners for supporting the show. We're going to take a little break in August, but we're going to be back with a whole lot more content from the Barefax podcast, newsletters, who knows what. See you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Barefax podcast, and thanks to Michael Ringier for joining us on this episode. Our host is Josh Baer. Our audio editor is Auntie Lane, and I'm Patrick Hill, associate editor. Check back soon for future episodes as we unpack the inner workings of the global art industry through exclusive, candid interviews with key players in the business, as they offer their perspectives on art and the market in the US, Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and beyond.